There's a sentiment in the horror community that all horror must be political or socially conscious. Whether or not you agree with this, there are certainly some examples where this statement holds true. For instance, George Romero's Day of the Dead, criticizing capitalism and our undying need for material items. Or Alien, which has lots to say about corporate greed and even reproductive rights when it comes to one's ability to choose. Also, even more brazen examples like They Live, which shines a very bright light on the ability of a few to control the masses through subliminal media messaging. Of course, certain horror movies set out with political commentary in mind, but for others, it's not quite clear if they do at all. For movies like Orphan, In a Violent Nature, and the Terrifier series, there doesn't seem to be, at least for me anyways, any political messaging at all. Perhaps I'm missing something about what characters like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees are supposed to represent politically. But for myself, and I'm sure many others, the political messaging for a lot of horror movies doesn't seem to be there at all. So why this obsession with all horror being political? To me, the answer is simple. There's an attraction from horror lovers to politics because it is an area of life where horror is rampant. Not all horror is political, but all politics are horrifying. From the beginning of time, it seems policy has wreaked havoc on the human race in one form or another, from the violent unification of ancient Egypt to the aggressive expansion of the Roman Empire, the religious crusades of the 11th century, and Genghis Khan's vast Mongol Empire, along with his unmatched breeding fetish, all the way to the transatlantic slave trade and the rise of Nazi Germany in the 20th century. Horrific politics still plague us today, for instance in America, where you can note attacks on enemies foreign and domestic, which do not exclude US citizens. For specific examples, take a closer look at the policies of any US president in the last 50 years, or later if you fancy. The bottom line is, policy on a massive scale brings violence and oppression in so many forms to the general public and on an individual level. Although my argument has been made against horror being political, I do agree with the second half of this statement being that horror is socially conscious. If you look at any horror movie, show, or book, a social message can be found in nearly every example. Going back to the movies I had mentioned earlier, In a Violent Nature and the Terrifier series portray that wrath can sometimes know no limits. Or in Orphan, the social message conveyed is that childcare can be terrifying, and letting unknown peoples into your home can always be dangerous. So although horror is socially conscious, the same can be said for any piece of media, because all media, books, television, video games, are essentially products of society, and inherently pass on a message of or about society. So whatever types of media you enjoy consuming, some sort of social message is surely present, because if a piece of media has nothing to say, is it even media at all? That's perhaps a question for another day. What is clear, and what I do stand by, is that horror certainly does not have to be political. Horror can be fun. Horror can be goofy. Horror can be not serious at all and still thought-provoking. So next time you watch a horror movie or consume any horror media, don't feel the need to associate it with specific political ideas or messages. Sometimes, the things horror has to say are not political at all. If you really want to get scared and question the world you're living in, just turn on the news, because that will certainly give you a lot to worry about. I'm Diamond Headcase, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. If you have any other topics or issues you'd like to hear discussed on this channel, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.